Hello and welcome back. This is going to be a book haul once again from the Book Thing of Baltimore, which is a wonderful nonprofit where they give out free books every weekend and you can also drop off your unwanted books. I was actually pretty good this time around. I usually try to stay under 25 books per outing, and I only go once a month. I used to go every week for a while and that was just insane. But usually my total winds up creeping up to around 40. But this time, I think I may have actually stayed under 25. We'll see. First I got Headhunter by Uwe Timm, who I have not read anything by him, but he's a pretty acclaimed contemporary German author. And I really love German literature, so I'm looking forward to giving him a try. Then I got two books by Robert Stone, who's primarily a novelist. He wrote a bunch of books that have been made into movies. He wrote the one that was the basis for WUSA. I'm not sure, I don't remember what the book was called. And he wrote Dog Soldiers, which was the basis for Who'll Stop the Rain. The only novel of his I've read up till now was called Bay of Souls. And I just read it because I was working in a bookstore. We got a reader's copy for it. It was there. I wanted to read something by him. And I wasn't that crazy about it, but I am giving him another try just because he is supposed to be a good writer. The novel of his I got is called Children of Light, and this is supposedly just a really dark Hollywood noir. And then I also got, bear with me, his autobiography, Prime Green, Remembering the 60s. He was involved with the Merry Pranksters, which was Ken Kesey's group that ran around in a bus called Further. And supposedly this autobiography, just from what I've read in the reviews, sounds a little bit self-indulgent, as autobiographies often are, especially 60s autobiographies. But I'm always up for a good recollection of the 60s or 70s, so I'm looking forward to seeing what he has to say. Then I got a book I've never heard of, but it was published by Everyman's Library, called Ecce Homo, Behold the Man. And this is not to be confused with Friedrich Nietzsche's Ecce Homo. From what I could tell from the jacket copy, this is sort of like Renault's Life of Jesus, except not really. That's basically what the jacket copy said. So I'll take a look. Obviously it's a theology book. Then I got the Collected Poems of Robert Service. What's O'Clock? Collection of poetry by Amy Lowell. Peer Gynt by Henrik Ibsen. I already have a bunch of Ibsen that I have not yet read, I'm ashamed to say. The only book of his I've read was A Doll's House, which I really liked. But if you've seen the film M, the music from Peer Gynt is the tune that the murderer is whistling in that film, and every time I see that film I get the tune stuck in my head, so I feel like I should read the play. And occasionally they have videotapes there, and this one is somebody's home recorded copy of Tortilla Flat, which happens to be the only Steinbeck novel I really wholeheartedly like. And I'm really looking forward to seeing the film, which stars Hedy Lamarr and I want to say Spencer Tracy, but I'm not sure. Then I got Death Be Not Proud by John Gunther. The Thurber Carnival. The Stories of William Trevor. I read Trevor's novel, Felicia's Journey, after seeing the film. And I thought the novel was fine. I didn't love it. I actually liked the film better. But then I've read a couple of short stories of his in various anthologies and really liked them, so I'm looking forward to exploring more of his short fiction. Then I got The European Philosophers from Descartes to Nietzsche, big Modern Library giant volume. and Georges Simenon, Quand j'étais vieux, or When I Was Old, which I'm assuming this is a memoir, so it's a little counterintuitive that he would call it When I Was Old. He would expect him to call it When I Was Young. But from what I hear, he was kind of a quirky fellow. And I actually just read my very first novel by him, which was called Uncle Charles s'est enfermé, or Uncle Charles has locked himself in, which I think is sometimes just translated as Uncle Charles. He's most famous for writing the Maigret series of detective novels, but this particular novel was a standalone, and I really liked it. It was just a really interesting, sort of noir-tinged domestic novel. So I'm curious to read his memoirs now. And then I got English and Scottish popular ballads. Can't go wrong with a good ballad, I suppose. And The Snow Leopard by Peter Mathiasson. This is just a something Penguin has proclaimed a nature classic. So let's see how good it is. The Essential Erasmus. This is actually a great find for me because I have Erasmus's In Praise of Folly in just a huge hardcover volume, even though the In Praise of Folly itself is not really that long a book. I think my edition has just a bunch of introduction and supplementary material. But this has the complete In Praise of Folly and also a bunch of other things he wrote. So I can have this lovely little paperback and jettison my great big hardcover. I got James Ellroy's The Cold 6000. I've read 3 novels by James Ellroy at this point. I've read Because the Night, Killer on the Road, which was also published as Silent Terror, and Blood on the Moon. Those are 3 of his earlier books that I think are considered sort of more of his trashy work. And really, I found them pretty trashy. He's so acclaimed and considered to be really a literary crime novelist. But to me, they were just these really kind of amusing, reactionary, pulpy little things that convey lessons like, don't listen to Dr. John, kids, or don't read too many comic books or you'll become this twisted serial killer. But I find them so amusing, I just have to read them. And also Blood on the Moon was the basis for Cop, which is one of my favorite films, starring James Woods and Leslie Ann Warren. But supposedly he got into a more literary vein when he wrote this trilogy, of which this is part 2. The first one is American Tabloid, which I haven't read yet. And this one, I believe, is sort of his take on the Kennedy assassination. Then I got Ritual in the Dark by Colin Wilson. Wilson is one of the British angry young men of the 1950s and 60s, which is a genre that really interests me. I think sort of the genre itself and the personalities that surround it interest me in a way more than the writing itself. But this is a novel by Colin Wilson. He also wrote The Outsider, which is one of the big sort of nonfiction manifestos of the movement. Then I got A Summer Place by Sloane Wilson, whose other major novel was The Man in the Gray Flannel Suit. I saw the film version of A Summer Place with Sandra Dee and Troy Donahue, and it was pretty corny, but I also really enjoyed it, and so I figured I would also give the book a try. And last but not least, I got Fierce People by Dirk Whittenborn. I was actually really excited to find this because months and months ago, maybe even a couple of years ago, I saw this, I kept seeing it there at the Book Thing. It was just there week after week after week, and the title was sort of interesting, but it didn't really grab me. And then I heard about the film, and I found out that the film starred Anton Yelchin, who is, I think, the best young actor working today. I think he's maybe 19 or 20. And he was the star of Charlie Bartlett, which I've said before, I will say again, is the best teen movie ever. If you haven't seen Charlie Bartlett, you need to see Charlie Bartlett. But anyway, I got interested in seeing the film, and I saw it a couple weeks ago, and I thought it was okay. I didn't love it, but it had a good cast, thought it was pretty well done. But it's the kind of thing that might actually do better as a novel. And I knew it was based on this book, and of course, once I got interested in the film, the book was no longer at the Book Thing, but it showed up again, and here it is. So I'm looking forward to giving this a read. And that, I'm sorry to say, is the end of my rather abstemious haul for the week. So if you've made it this far, thanks for watching, and I hope you'll join me for my next video.